I think we live in a time when it's very easy to ignore the world around you. And paying attention to the changing of the seasons means that you need to pay attention to the weather, to the oceans, to the sun and the stars and the moon. And, and all of those things allow you to become more integrated with what is going on in your place. And that's what we all need now, is more connections to our place. Because when you have those connections to the place, that's when you can be attentive to the place's needs and can actually care actively for your place. Well, this event can only happen today because on May 2nd is when the sun, which is our seasonal timer, sets in a particular place. It's going to set in a cinder cone called Kapolei at the south end of the Waianae Mountains, and it only does that 2 times a year. Once on its way into summer and once on its way back out. So on May 2nd, except on the leap year when it's May 1st, the sun sets right into that cusp. And it marks the switching into the 6 months of the Hawaiian summer, the Kauwela. This is the first month of the Hawaiian summer called Waikīkī. And we're already a few moon phases into that. But the sun is the key marker for the seasons in Hawaii. Well, when you think about it, everything in ancient Hawaiian life would depend upon the seasons. You need the wet season for growing certain crops. You need the dry season for all kinds of cultural events. For example, the 2 seasons are dedicated to 2 major Hawaiian gods. The hot summer season is dedicated to Ku, which is the god of war, people think, but it's also the god of leadership and governance. And so the season of the summer was the season for the ali'i, and for the season of governance of the place and the people. The season of Lono was the wet season. And at that time, the kapu are less rigid. Things are a little bit more relaxed. That's when the makahiki games occur. That's when the harvest has completed and people get to rest from their labors a bit. There's always something going on, of course, in fishing and farming. But during the season of Lono, it's time for growing certain crops such as uala, which is sweet potato, and ipu, which is gourd, which depend on the winter rains in order to grow. And during the summer would be the time of the main crop, which is kalo or taro, which grows year-round really, but is at its maximum growth potential during the Kauwela months. When you think about it, all of the chants in ancient Hawaii were dedicated to the multiple akua. And so many of the chants that we're sharing are really old chants. Chants to Lono, which signify the chants to the wet season and the makahiki, and chants to Ku, chants of governance. There are also many historic events that occurred here, both in real history as well as in mythological history. Now, we are standing at the site that we think is as close as possible to the site of the Luakini Heiau of Kakuhiheva, which was one of the great chiefs of the island of Oahu, and his center of governance was in Waikīkī. So from that heiau, all the observations of the changing of the season were made.
For me, one of the greatest lessons is for locals as well as visitors alike, is to understand the history of place. When you're visiting, either if you haven't been there before, or if you're a local person and just aren't familiar with a particular place, learning about the history of those places and the significance of those stories, because history is a way for us to remember all of the things of our past, and celebrate the challenges, the celebrations, and all the accomplishments of our ancestors and all those who have come before us. So always remembering those stories is something that can be achieved by engaging with local people of the area that continue those and to carry those traditions, reading and doing research about the different places and the stories about the different places, or engaging with community organizations that continue to perpetuate those practices and stories for future generations. So for me, event like this, the changing of the seasons, really allows us to celebrate our collective history and support one another into the future.
For not only my own children, but because I'm a teacher, and I have kids from 4 years old, 3, 4 years old, um, so that they have an understanding of the place in which they live. And I think that for me, through them, that understanding can grow. Because even today, I have several of my haumana here, and they've come, they enjoyed May Day so much yesterday, and they're like, oh, we love this and we want more. And the I think gravity that they learn to place on it will spread, and so that the value that the kids get out of it, then the parents get out of it, and the cousins and aunties and uncles, and for me it'll spread from that um, area. That there's lots of people that can teach tourists. I'm teaching my kids, and so that's what it is for me.
You know, the Waikīkī Aquarium is a long-standing institution of education and knowledge. And in Hawaii, a lot of conservation is based on science, but a blending of science and culture is what is needed in order to actually get the majority of people involved in conservation in Hawaii. And so Waikīkī Aquarium is to be praised for paying attention to those kinds of cultural and scientific connections that occur in the ocean and on our islands.